Hi, my name is Laura, and this is my final project on the content area interview I did and the findings I had with it. So the content area teacher I interviewed was Mr. Gonzalez. He was my old calculus teacher, and he started his career at Up Middle School. Taught there about 5 years, and then went to Beckman High School and has been there for 17 years, where I had him as my teacher. So he has 22 years of experience total teaching. He got his BA credential and master's all in mathematics, and they were all through CSUS. So all the programs he took to get his education were at our school, which is pretty cool. So I'm a bit out of breath. I don't know why. Challenges and preferred methods teaching ELLs for Mr. Gonzalez. The number one challenge he mentioned was communication with parents, even because when he teaches ELLs, it's even less likely that their parents know even a lick of English, so communication with them is hard. And he also mentioned that it can be tough when there's an interpreter because he likes making personal connections with parents, because it can help establish his credibility and also get them to listen to what he has to say. But when you use an interpreter, he says it can feel a lot less personal and it's difficult to make that connection because it feels like the interpreter is the one talking with the parents rather than himself. The second challenge he has is reading body language. So he mentioned that he comes from a programming background, and for students, for being a teacher, it's a big part to be able to see where your kids are at, see if you need to rewind or continue on. And body language is a big part of that. And so he says that, especially with ELLs, body language can be difficult to read because they also have different cultures have different ways of expressing body language. Um, so one of his preferred methods for teaching in general and specifically ELLs is creating individualized support. So if he has a group of kids, a group of ELLs that are having trouble understanding the material, he'll set an activity, put people in small groups, and then take a knee next to the small group where he puts all of the people struggling in one group so he can talk to them all at once. Um, and then verbal confirmations is a big thing. So especially when I was in his class, he would always be like, "Are you good? Are you okay? Give me a thumbs up, say yes, say no." And then some people, like if we're really struggling on a topic, people would be like, "No, just stop, just stop." And he's a really funny teacher. So verbal confirmation is something that he does a lot in his classes to confirm understanding. Um, for ELL motivation and attitude, he said that energy levels can vary from class to class, and it's important to pay attention to pacing for him. He doesn't want to go too fast and overwhelm kids. He also mentioned that you can really see frustration on a student's face and what he called being able to smell the anxiety in the class. And then also for ELL specifically, he mentioned respect towards authority figures. They have like ELLs come from cultures usually more often than not come from cultures that have a big importance on respect of parents, of elders, and so he doesn't really have any issues with respect with ELLs. And then he also mentions that since he teaches an advanced course like calculus, these ELLs tend to be extremely motivated if they've gone through math classes and already gotten to the calculus level and are still persevering on. Um, motivation is a key element in their success. So the way he differentiates instruction with his classes, he mentions that he values peer support, though he doesn't have a formal way of differentiating instruction, especially because Beckman doesn't have as many ELLs as he did when he worked at middle school. He strongly believes that peer support is a big help for students struggling, ELLs who might not understand all the material as much. Like I said, he does small group activities so he can focus in on certain students when needed. An example of a content area specific challenge that he experiences with all students is continuity. Um, and so when he faces math topics that everybody is having trouble with, he tends to build on previous material, connects the material to things that he has already taught them and solidified well before going into new material. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the textbook that I received from Mr. Gonzalez. So it is a calculus textbook. Mr. Gonzalez prefers physical textbooks. He calls himself old school. But the school he teaches at, Beckman High School, uses digital ones. And so the text I'm analyzing is one of Mr. Gonzalez's preferred texts. It's like his own personal textbook that he uses and makes lessons plans out of, and then connects it to the digital textbook that they use. Some key concepts that they have in this textbook is limits and their properties, differentiation, integration, inverse functions, and vectors in the geometry of space. So we can tell already that this is very complex information in the textbook that ELLs are faced with when they take his class. So textbook based practice, there are definitely four main skills that you need to have as an ELL or build when you're using this textbook. Rather than listening, though, there weren't any listening exercises in it. A big part is being able to analyze visuals. So you can see on the picture on the left, there's lots of graphs. You have to be able to kind of understand them, and that's a big part for understanding this textbook. Reading is a very important skill to have for this class. As you can see that the reading here is very high level, very specialized vocab, and also very succinct. It doesn't go on and on into detail about every single thing. It is just very to the point, say it once. Yeah. For speaking exercises, this is one of the, this is an example of where it says discuss the continuity of something. And then while this may just look like people would write out their answer, I do remember in his classes that we would often be asked to discuss the topics that we are looking at. And yeah, we'll talk it through with our team members. So speaking is a big skill to have in his class, and then also writing. So a big calculus concept is writing proofs, and proofs require English competency. And so this is just a screenshot from the book where it says proof theorem 211. And then I provided an example image, not exactly theorem 211, but an example image of what proofs look like and how it requires a lot of competency with English letters, with English sentence structure. So for some other findings, the textbook has a very high lexical density. Sorry, I'm getting texted. Has a very high lexical density, and some key features are that there are very high levels of content topics. It just it builds upon itself from the beginning and then continues on. As for theme and ream in each section, so there are 17 chapters in the textbook, and then each chapter has multiple sections. So each section builds upon what was learned in the last section. And so there's a very big progression of theme and ream from the very beginning of the textbook to the end. So for my plan to break down the text for an ELD class, if I was faced with this, would be to first define vocab, then rely on visuals, and connect with an overseas teacher. I think this is really important, and I think Mr. Gonzalez is lucky that he doesn't have very many ELLs in his class because the content is just so high level. It would be really difficult to try and teach without having an outside resource that could connect with the students in their home language. So say this ELD class was a lot of Spanish speakers, I would connect with an overseas calculus Spanish speaking teacher. And I think that would be really helpful, either just to translate the tests for them or do whatever I can to assist the students. And that's my presentation. Thank you.